Today is Friday, August 26th. What to know about a new overhaul at the Pentagon and major flooding that's impacting people across several states. Also, a new first-of-its-kind ban on gas-powered cars, where it's going into effect and the potential impacts, both good and bad. Plus, a new influence campaign on social media, this one pushing American propaganda. A new plan to bring cell service to so-called dead zones, and how you can spoil your pet on this National Dog Day. Those stories and much more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. First, it was the Southwest, then the Southern Plains, and now the Deep South is dealing with the aftermath of some extreme flooding. Heavy rain fell yesterday in parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. Some of the worst flooding was in Mississippi, where water turned highways into rivers. Videos and photos shared online show law enforcement officers carrying toddlers out of a flooded daycare. Other deputies helped dozens of people out of a flooded nursing home. And many cars, homes, and businesses have been damaged. The threat is not totally over either. Rain is still falling all throughout the South today, from the Houston, Texas area up toward Alexandria, Virginia. Major changes are coming to the Pentagon in hopes of saving innocent lives. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin laid out a long-awaited detailed plan aimed at reducing civilian casualties during U.S. military operations. It's called the Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Action Plan. So this lays out sweeping changes to military planning, training, and policy, even for future conflicts. The Pentagon's goal is to have people specially trained on all levels who understand the harm done to civilians and how to avoid those casualties at all costs. It includes about 150 new positions throughout the Defense Department. It also makes the reporting standard for how the Pentagon collects, shares, and analyzes data. There are new procedures for investigating claims, and it expands how the U.S. military can respond to victims, including payments to survivors and family members of people who were harmed, medical care, and repairs to damaged infrastructure. It goes into effect right away, and it's expected to cost tens of millions of dollars per year. Some human rights advocates praise the plan, saying fewer people will die because of it. But they also want more clarification, like how troops or commanders would be held accountable if they don't follow the plan. It comes almost a year to the day after a drone strike in Afghanistan killed only civilians, including 7 children. This new plan is hoping to avoid anything like that from ever happening again. 3 U.S. service members were hurt in Syria this week in 2 different attacks, and the Pentagon says Iran-backed militants were behind them. Thankfully, the American troops only had minor injuries. Still, the U.S. is retaliating with counterattacks. The U.S. military says it killed 4 enemy fighters and destroyed 7 enemy rocket launchers. The U.S. has fewer than 1,000 soldiers stationed in Syria these days, but they've been targeted lately by Iran-backed groups, including a drone attack last week. Even though the Americans haven't taken a ton of damage, U.S. officials say they need to retaliate in case Iran has plans for more attacks. Iran's foreign minister denied any connection to the groups targeted and called the attacks an aggression against the people of Syria. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other social media outlets say they took down another covert influence campaign. They say it looked a lot like the other campaigns they've busted in the past that came out of Russia, China, or Iran. But this one was apparently pushing pro-American ideas. A new report from the social media analytics company Graphica and Stanford University put out some details this week. They say some accounts posed as news outlets and others took on personas of people who didn't exist to try and promote U.S. policy interests abroad, all while attacking the interests of Russia, China, Iran, and other countries. The report says they posted content in at least 7 languages in different regions all around the world for almost 5 years. It's still not clear who was actually behind this campaign, but a Pentagon spokesperson said the U.S. government will be looking into it. This is actually the first time social media outlets discovered an influence campaign promoting Western interests abroad. 2 of the world's biggest health threats are starting to ease up a bit. First up, the World Health Organization says COVID-19 cases are going down in almost every region of the globe, and the number of people dying from COVID-19 is dropping too. The WHO says it is possible the downturn has to do with less testing and other surveillance, but it still welcomes a drop as good news. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization also says the number of monkeypox cases dropped 21% in the last week. That's the first turnaround since infections have been rising quickly all summer. Overall, more than 45,000 monkeypox cases have been reported in 98 countries. About 17,000 of those cases have come from the U.S. Happy Women's Equality Day. 102 years ago today, the 19th Amendment was officially certified, giving American women the right to vote. It took Congress another 50 years to actually designate August 26th as Women's Equality Day. But now a lot of Americans celebrate by volunteering or donating to women's causes, registering to vote, or learning more about the women's rights movement. More news still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Businesses may start with a great idea and one person to get it going, but they typically won't go far and become the type of business making headlines without a great team. And to build a great team, you need Indeed. Indeed lets you find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed data in the U.S. And Indeed helps star applicants shine with over 135 assessment tests. We're talking everything from cooking to coding. I love when a platform makes things easy by providing everything you need in one place. So join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. California has officially set in motion a first-of-its-kind plan to ban the sale of all new gas-powered cars and trucks by the year 2035. California regulators gave the plan the thumbs up as expected. It's historic, making California the first state to do this, though this could get other states to follow suit and accelerate a national and really global transition to electric cars. For now, here's what the plan entails in California. More than a third of new car sales in California will need to be zero-emission vehicles by 2026. Then by 2030, the target increases to 2/3. And finally, by 2035, all new cars and trucks sold in the state will need to be fossil fuel free. The LA Times cites air quality officials who say the new regulations will lower emissions from cars by more than 50% by 2040 compared to that year if no action were taken. Already, many car companies are starting to phase out gas-powered cars for electric. But industry experts do warn the new timeline puts major pressure on automakers, especially now that manufacturers are facing supply chain and production challenges like shortages and rising costs for materials. There are also some concerns about affordability for consumers. Experts say the cost of electric cars have actually gone up. The federal government will have to sign off on this plan before it takes effect. The abortion battle continues across the country. So-called abortion trigger laws went into effect yesterday in Idaho, Tennessee, and Texas. So what exactly is a trigger law? It's a law created to go into effect if some kind of change in circumstance occurs. So in this case, when abortions are no longer a constitutional right. Now, 2 months after the High Court struck down Roe v. Wade, waiting periods for many abortion trigger laws are up. So the laws go into effect. While abortions in these 3 states have been severely restricted already since the High Court's decision in June, these laws added new restrictions or penalties. North Dakota also had a trigger law set to go into effect, but yesterday a judge temporarily delayed it while a legal challenge plays out. Meanwhile, some tech companies are jumping into this battle, and one of their concerns specifically has been around so-called crisis pregnancy centers. Critics, including some Democrats in Congress, say they mislead people into thinking they offer abortions when really they try to steer people searching for abortions to other options. Google says it'll label healthcare facilities that do provide abortions on maps and search functions now, and label those that, quote, might not provide abortions. Yelp made a similar announcement earlier this week. On the other side of this issue, though, 17 Republican attorneys general threatened legal action against Google over this, warning the company not to suppress pro-life voices on its platform. Stay tuned. A big announcement last night from SpaceX and T-Mobile. The two companies are joining forces to attempt to put an end to so-called cellular dead zones. You know, where you can't get any service? They're developing a new service called Coverage Above and Beyond. The plan is to use powerful antennas attached to satellites to give coverage to cell phones anywhere in the U.S., no matter how remote the location. To be clear, this won't be the type of fast Wi-Fi you may be used to. It'll just be mostly for texting and calling. But Elon Musk says he believes this technology will save lives, preventing tragedies where people are unable to call for help. There are currently 500,000 square miles in the U.S. that are uncovered by any cellular network. The new satellite to cell phone coverage won't be available for a while, though. SpaceX and T-Mobile say they hope to get started on this sometime next year. Today is National Dog Day, a great day not only to celebrate your cute canines, but also score some major doggy deals. Here are a few. Krispy Kreme will sell doggy donuts just for pups today and through the weekend. Next, some online pet stores have deals, like Chewy, where you'll get a $30 e-gift card if you spend $100 on dog products. Use the code DOGDAY at checkout. Subscription box service BarkBox is offering a free gift with a multi-month subscription. And finally, we have to mention, many animal shelters are offering deals to help furry friends find forever homes. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, ZocDoc. My husband and I are definitely a type of people who research things before we do something, even what restaurant we should try next or what show we should watch next weekend. And we use tools to help out with that, like Yelp and Rotten Tomatoes. So if we were willing to research that fun, small stuff, then of course we want to research the more important decisions, like what doctors we should go to. Well, ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. So it helps to give you all of that info you need in one place. And even though it's a more important decision, ZocDoc's mobile app makes choosing and booking your next appointment as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc. And when I need to find a new doctor or specialist, ZocDoc is one of my go-to tools. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. Our story today comes from Denver, Colorado, where a man is using his woodshop skills to make a better, more comfortable community. It all started earlier this year when James Warren noticed a woman sitting in the dirt while waiting for her bus to arrive. He says it impacted him so much, he decided to do something about that bus stop and others with no seating. Warren decided to use scrap wood and recycled materials to build benches he could place next to bus stops. So far, he's built 8 benches, some of which have been stolen or vandalized, but he says that won't stop him. And now he's getting some help. Warren says many people have offered to donate material or to use their trucks to help him drop off the benches. He's also using his benches to spread a positive message. Each one he builds has the words "Be kind" inscribed on it. A simple but important message for all riders, and one that James Warren is a great example of. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. We're checking in with a well-known epidemiologist to talk boosters, flu season, and hope for a future with no COVID. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.